No.
We're live, you guys.
We're live. What a day.
All right. Welcome everybody to System.debug level 64, where we are talking about authentication. You have Megan, RJ, and Nathan here. Hi, everybody. How's it going? And
it's going. It's definitely going. Sorry, I always have to unmute because I'm always like coughing or doing something stupid. But yeah, it's going all right. It's moving. What about you, Nate?
It's got to be going great. I just realized it's N8 squared, so it's N64, which is also amazing.
nice.
Yeah, right, I finally got over my like 5-day holiday flu, so under the belt, antibodies accrued, and time to plow on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, today we are going to be digging into all that fun stuff, as I know you are studying for your authentication exam. I'm working on my authentication exam stuff, and RJ is studying for a bunch of authentication and exam stuff too. So, plus, got a bunch of cool authentication and security stuff going on projects right now, and it just keeps coming up in the community and on Ohana Slack. So I figured, why not start talking about it, since we're all studying for it and people keep asking questions. Seems to be a popular topic. Yes. So how is your study? Oh, well, did you want to bump us in? I know you're in the library, but do you want a fake bump or put in a spacer for a bump?
This is actually it is a library, but it's the San Jose Public Library Works Career and Business section. So it's like
talking is allowed.
Like 3,000 square feet of co-working space. It's the size of a WeWork floor, essentially. Yeah, and you can bring food in here. You can bring beverages in here. You can talk. Usually there's no one here. I think there's somebody over the corner there, but no, it's good. And just on the other side of this is the computer section of books, which I've gotten my spread of today. All the non-Salesforce goodness that will put me to bed. But no, yeah, just no guitar, no DJ, but wiki go. Level 64, System.debug.
So speaking of books, actually, there are some really good Salesforce books that have come out lately. There's the Salesforce DevOps book, and there is the Advanced Admin Salesforce book that came out. And both are pretty cool. I don't know if either of you have checked those out. But the DevOps one's pretty sweet.
DevOps book sounds tasty.
Yeah, so it is focused around Salesforce CX and DevOps in general with Salesforce and what is going on there. I know I've been recommending it to my team, but it came out a couple of months ago, and it's pretty sweet. And that one is by, I know it was out on Amazon. Hold on. Let's see here. You got me Googling.
You're talking about the one by
DevOps
Gene Kim?
for Salesforce.
Oh, DevOps for Salesforce. I got you.
Oh, there's another one?
Yeah, there's a DevOps. It's called the DevOps Handbook by Gene Kim, who also wrote like the Phoenix Project and then more recently the Unicorn Project. We've been talking. I don't know why that came up at work, but we started a book club apparently. I really don't know.
Ooh,
but yeah, there's a lot of
DevOps.
This was one of the Pact Publishing books that came out.
Oh, nice. I love Pact.
Yeah. Pact Publishing, Salesforce DevOps. And then it was Enrico that did the Salesforce Advanced Admin book, DevOps for Salesforce by Pact. We'll make sure to link to this one in the show notes. But yeah, about continuous integration. And just all the different stuff that's out there for you. Plus, like I said, DX. And that's by Priyanka Dive. And I think there's another one too that was out there. Let me find out what that one was.
So does this involve like all the Heroku stuff? Because I know Salesforce a long time ago at this point now has kind of put Heroku into their stuff. They like either merged with or bought Heroku. I don't remember the exact deal, or acquired them in some form or fashion. But all the DevOps stuff kind of go around that ecosystem now, the Heroku ecosystem, or I guess I'm just kind of guessing here. Like where
I'm not
the
sure if they
Salesforce
have
DevOps stuff go around.
a continuous integration tool like Jenkins or it's been so long. What's like the GitHub continuous integration?
There's GitHub
So
Actions.
there's
There's Jenkins.
Bamboo
There's Circle CI,
on
Bamboo.
Bitbucket.
Travis, that's what I was thinking of.
Travis CI. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure they have a Heroku based one of those. That's like,
Well, I didn't mean like specifically for her. I meant like you launch kind of like a CI/CD instance in Heroku, because Heroku just is there to be. It's just a platform for you to launch things on. So I was assuming, I didn't know if there was a specific CI/CD that is integrated with Salesforce, or a specific like pipeline sort of system at all. Anything in that realm, I guess is what I'm asking. Or was there some kind of like, hey, you just launched this image on Heroku, you just put this little thing up and it does all the CI/CD for you. Like you just run your stuff through there. Or I guess my real question is, how does DevOps work?
Most people are building something on Salesforce DX, something custom, or using a third party, like DearSet.
I know that within the last 6 months to year, I thought it was relatively recent, they made a Docker container for Salesforce. Might have been.
That's interesting.
But who's using it?
Anybody that wants to use a Docker container for CI/CD with Salesforce.
I guess for testing with Salesforce or something. I guess to test against a very small, not like a real org, but to test against some sort of smaller org. That's what I'm wondering.
Well, and you can
I have
use
no
that
idea
to spin up, like essentially use that to do your scripting of SFDX, spin up Scratch or do all your scripts and tests.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I guess the real thing is, Megan, what I was kind of getting at is like, I don't know anything about the DevOps that goes into a Salesforce org or communities or like any of that stuff. So I was wondering, like, I guess I was just shooting.
So I think everybody's still trying to figure that one out. I think it's still new territory. Yeah.
Okay.
I know a lot of the at Dreamforce, there's a lot of talk about bringing admins into DevOps, which was an interesting conversation and concept, where what is everybody's actual role and where do roles start and begin. So
providing UI tools for Salesforce DX being a part of that, right? Bringing the admins in. Mm-hmm.
So there are some pretty cool tools out there for UI tools to bring, the ability to deploy into a repo and to deploy into other orgs. So still getting down into the idea of being able to do merge conflicts and stuff that are out there. I like DearSet for that personally. I think it's pretty cool. And being able to look at that finer level. I was actually just talking with one of the consultants today and showing him how to deploy to their repo. And just setting up time to do that, show him how to commit with just using declarative tools. And so that he can be part of that whole process. But at the same time, the question isn't, how do you do it? Because there's so many options out there for everybody to be part of every project and every process. It's what everybody should be doing and where do responsibilities start and end. Once people start getting too many things on their plate, you're getting pulled in too many directions and nobody can really do the best at what they do at that point in time, I think. Should admins be doing repo management, or is that really something for DevOps to be doing?
That's a fair question. I'm kind of still confused about how like the splits happen between different roles inside of, or I guess on the Salesforce platform. Like where do admins kind of stop, and like where do developers begin, and then like where do the developers stop and architects begin, or like even in kind of like a circle there, like where does everybody begin and end, and how much overlap is there? Because I know there's going to be some, right?
Yeah.
So then add another another set of people into this mix, which is DevOps, and you're like, okay, now we got this four types of people kind of in this loop, and where do they start and where do they end? I think that's a fair question though. So as far as like your team is concerned, Megan and or Nate, either of you two, do you all have DevOps kind of running now as a parallel work stream to your normal like admin, dev, and architecture, or is somebody from the admin / dev / architecture team taking on more of a DevOps role, or how's that like working?
I am currently in all of the lack of DevOps pain, so definitely no. Yeah, I mean we're very lean team company, and I mean to our benefit, our team has taken on 2 projects in the last I'd say 3 months now, 2-3 months. And prior to like the handover of a previous lead to my current one, weren't using version control. So the improvement is remarkable. But as far as DevOps, I mean, not only is that not established, if it's there, we're lucky. But I would say as far as where does admin end and dev begin, I was in a position where I was doing development for a project, and there were 2 pages on an external facing site, non-authenticated, with various Aura components, and they all had new custom fields, etc. Was taking an old process with a bunch of email templates, and there was so much development to be done. I assumed, oh, surely the clicker person is going to be keeping track of what new fields are created and giving permissions to those, right, in a permission set or profile or however you give access to fields. And I would say it's always better to err on the side of doing more than your job than to do the like it's not my job thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's kind of my side of that.
I totally agree with you. I'd rather err with caution. I think it gets a little more complicated, especially as the more people you get and the more pressure that gets added on, and the more roles you get, and especially as more, like I said, more pressure. And as you get different pieces and people are new at things, and especially if you're new to something, or you're feeling that tight timeline, making sure things get committed to source control somehow starts to go down, and just making sure stuff gets done goes up, and somehow you miss those more important critical things. So I definitely get that stress for DevOps and making sure it gets done. Now the question is, who's supposed to be doing it, so that you can make sure that it actually gets done. And where is the source control? Is it your source control? Is it the client's source control? Do you commit end of day? Do you commit when something's finished? How frequently is it? And what about it for all those people that don't know how to commit, or only know how to use declarative tools? What if you don't have declarative tools? Do you have to buddy up? I know we've done that on some projects, and it can get tedious. And then having that dependency and having to have that responsibility, that's hard, because what if you miss other people's stuff?
Admins aren't the only people that don't know how to commit.
I'm not saying admins. That's why I'm saying people. Yeah.
Oh goodness, it's all over the place. It is all over the place, and it's not just Salesforce. It's all over. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like a virus. It's kind of crazy.
I was just pointing out that my frequency to do so goes down the more stuff that I do. So, which is kind of the opposite of how it should be. The more stuff I have, the more frequently I should be doing it.
Yeah, but I mean, as soon as you start writing code, as soon as things work again, you should commit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But I know today we were going to talk about authentication. We ended up talking a little bit more about the DevOps management. So
a lot of good stuff there.
getting ready
Great.
for some of the authentication exam. How's it been going for you, Nate?
Let's see, I'm looking at my, the trail I'm on right now is the secure identity and access management. Did the identity basics, looking into, what is it? Identity mobile first, being able to set up self-registration so that, let's say, for instance, a customer can come in and register with just their phone number or email address or one of these things that is, essentially it's going to be two-factor authentication baked in, but that they don't even need a password. In order to do some things like text, you're going to need some sort of pay-to-play plugin with it that relies on Twilio.
So you do have that device activation though, and you do have that, so the login identity with communities. That's pretty cool. Where you can either have email or you can have text, and you get so many text credits as a whole, depending on your edition, which is pretty sweet. I know that we're looking at that right now for a few things that I'm looking at for some of my stuff, and it's pretty sweet stuff. And I played around with it. It's a lot of fun just to play with. I actually logged in with one of my users using it just the other day in my demo, and it was a lot of fun. So, and then I just actually set up my self-registration using the regular community builder page and a field set. Great way to add a bunch of fields, but don't ever add your email or your first and last name because you're gonna have those duplicated to your field set. So just be careful there. Fun tips from the community stuff that I've done before.
That's good to know.
One of the things I'm playing around with right now are login flows. It's just trying to get some more of a in-depth way to do login authentication. Maybe looking at the ability to do questions when they log in and have additional verification without having to use just the device activation and have it every single time. And looking at a random number generator there and stuff. And it's pretty fun. Nice. They're really easy to set up, and they're nice way to go about it without having to design a bunch of custom stuff that's already been set up for you.
I remember the only time I've used a login flow so far has been for a professional services organization where when somebody new came on, we wanted people to set their profile up essentially of what their role was and what their skill sets were, because it was this huge N tier skill set, has certain skills. Yeah, but oh yeah, login flows, there's so much you can do with it. It's sweet. It's nice.
I've used them in the past for communities to accept terms of service, and then internally for just maintenance window.
Nice.
But actually looking at them for some real additional verification information. And I've seen them, in demos connected with the marketing cloud stuff and Journey Builder, and set up your profile, do all this kind of stuff, but I've never actually done it. So I guess this is kind of just looking at some of those additional pieces, but in a different direction. One other thing that I've been looking at a lot lately is external identity and getting to play around with that, and that's actually kind of fun. In Identity Connect. Now, the part that I'm hoping to play around with some more is SSO, and playing around with, actually doing more configuration with that. It's actually been a while. So I've done some assisting with that, and I've done some helping with configurations, but I haven't actually gotten to set one up from scratch lately. So hopefully I'm going to do that before the exam. What kind of catches or gotchas have you run into there?
Real quick, did anyone see Mark's question?
No.
He said, are you applying a permission set temporarily if they successfully pass the login? So I think he was talking to either yours or Nate's login flow.
So if you are talking to me, Mark, for mine, I'm actually, for the login flow, I'm checking I'm assigning a they accepted the terms of service on this date for my terms of service one. As for setting the password information, they're going to have to do that every time for the one I'm looking at. So it's something that they'd have to do over and over. And then Nate, what about your experience?
Hold on, I'll read the question again.
I think my login flow was based on essentially if something on the user, I think it was like a custom field on the user was null, right? So initial skill set, I mean, it might have even been a Boolean, right? Has set things through initial login, which we might have batch set before we rolled out that login flow. Or it may have been a multi-pick list on user. Something really awesome like that.
You wouldn't.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No multi-select pick lists. You wouldn't do that.
Oh, we deal with semicolons enough anyway.
I hate you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so totally random, but speaking of flows, one thing that I saw that was super, super cool, totally off the subject of authentication anyways. So they have this flow action that is actually manual sharing, but it's available on the lightningflow.net site. And it's a flow and a component, and it's pretty sweet, and it's all set up for you. And I played around with it the other day, and it just made my day to not have to do it myself. Pretty sweet component. Highly recommend checking it out if you have to look at building out a sharing component yourself. So people that are declarative, sharing is available for you from the lightningflow.net site. Check it out. Save yourself some time. I had Joe try to build that alone. It's a pain. So yeah.
I wonder now with Apex defined custom types being accessible in things like flows, if you could make callouts in a login flow and use them in a login flow, possibly like the response.
Probably to use like an API for authentication or like some other like authentication federation sort of situation. And there's a lot of Asians in there.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I was gonna ask, as far as that two-factor auth stuff that you all have been using, is there anything besides email or phone right now, or are there any plans for that? Because I know that's been a kind of a rough spot recently with people doing a lot of SIM swapping going on, and it just being easier and easier every single day to SIM swap people and be able to hack their accounts via.
There's a Salesforce Authenticator app.
Yeah. Okay, so there is another app. I got you. Are they? Do you know if they're planning on integrating with any of the normal like, what's the Google Authenticator or like, shoot, I have so many on my phone, Authy or any of those cute systems or apps? I guess.
I don't know. Do you know if you can work with any of those, Nate?
Authy
hardware stuff like Ubico.
I don't know if there's
Just
anything available more declaratively rather than rolling your own in Apex. I haven't seen. I mean, I rolled something up with Heroku and Salesforce, but it was using Authy and Auth0 on the Heroku side.
I gotcha.
Technically, you could.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's totally available. I'm just not sure if it integrates in a nice way, declaratively, right? Like out of the box that you could configure easily without a ton of code or a moderate amount of code.
So everything outside of either the phone, the email, or the actual Salesforce authenticator, anything outside of that is kind of a custom built solution. Is kind of
so one of the downsides of using the Salesforce Authenticator app is if that authenticator app is assigned, you can't use login as the admin. So for that user.
Oh shoot! I remember how much I used to use that.
Yeah.
Dang, that stinks.
So just something to think about.
Oh boy.
Even from within the app, like.
If you have the Salesforce Authenticator turned on as their form of authentication, you can't use login as.
Yeah, so if I'm in Megan's org and I have the two-factor auth for the Salesforce Authenticator, and she's like, "Oh, I want to log in as RJ just to see if he sees the same thing," and she's got
turn it off for him. I've got to
God
turn it
power. I'd have to, we'd have to turn it off, and then she could do login as me, and then I'd have to turn it back on again, which is kind of a pain in the butt. But I definitely, I see the ups and the downs there. I forgot how much we use that when I was working on the platform, like all the time. That was such a helpful tool.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's always nice to use a permission set if that's what you're using versus assigning it to the profile, assigning it to everyone.
Yeah. Or like, I guess worst case scenario, you can make a whole other user that has similar like settings and things to me, like effectively copy my user and then log in as that user. But that's
or just assign
kind of
it
a goofy
with a
workaround.
permission set.
Yeah, exactly.
Remove it. Yeah.
not use a hacky way. That's the best way to do it.
So although we didn't get very far on authentication, this is a pretty good talk. I know we're at the top of the hour.
I thought so too. I liked all of it.
It was good. I liked it. Good conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark. It's great having you in the chat.
Thanks for hanging out with us, Mark.
Oh, we can't send links in chat. All right. Well, yeah, we'll add.
We'll add them in the recorded session. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Any other closing words, you guys?
Not here.
Be authentic. Make sure to authenticate.
With all that authentication talk.
Dad jokes. Man, I'm glad someone's here to pick up the slack that BJ has left. The void, the dad joke void that he has left. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. There is N88. What's your Twitter?
S-Force be with you. All spelled out except the S. It's just the letter S.
And RJ?
At the infamous RJ. Oh boy.
And I'm the Megan SF. And don't forget to follow us and subscribe. And thanks for joining us. Have a good one, you guys.
See you next year, people.
See you next year. Happy New Year.
Cheers.